Hello and welcome to Life Well Led, a podcast where we have conversations that explore the art of leadership. Whether you are seeking to lead yourself well, your family, your team, your organization, we are here to explore all of the above, and we are thankful that you are along for the ride. I'm your host, John Elliott. I'm here with my co-host and eldest son, Grady Elliott, and we are thrilled today to be talking to friend of the Elliott family, Tip Reiman. Most of you probably know Tip from either his time as a standout tight end at the University of Illinois, or perhaps from his rookie season with the Arizona Cardinals. That's sort of his, public profile, if you will. Mm-hmm. But as I'm sure Tip would be quick to point out, more importantly, he is a husband to Maddie, a father to a new baby son, a follower of Christ, and again, just a good friend of our family. And so, Tip, we are thrilled to have you on the show today. Thanks for coming on.
It's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Well, Grady is making his official podcasting debut here. And we're going to let him get his feet wet with a few questions. He is excited to ask you about your first season in the NFL with the Cardinals. So, Grady, I'll let you take it away.
Fire away, Grady.
Yeah, I just want to start with something light. What was your favorite moment from the season? It could be a play, a game. I know there's also some special things they do to rookies in the NFL. So what was your favorite moment?
I like it, Grady. Going right after the good stuff.
That's good, dude. Fortunately for me, I didn't get some of the special things that stories have been talked about, so I was able to curb some of those.
Is that because you were bigger and scarier than the typical rookie, or why were you spared of such treatment?
I think it's slowly making its way out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's slowly making its way out. Yeah, that's funny. No, there's been bigger and scarier, I'm sure. I'd say for me, like the favorite of my rookie season was just my first game. It was against the Bills, and I line up and like there's Von Miller, and I'm like, wow, you're starstruck in that moment. You don't realize he's a normal dude too in that moment, because I had grown up watching him when he was in Denver, and we had a family friend that was the chef, his private chef, and so it was always just like he was just. That level was just like unattainable kind of thing. He's just like right there. And to be, on that same field and blocking him. And granted, there were only like 3 plays where I was actually supposed to block him specifically. So I didn't get to do it a whole lot, but
did you successfully block him on at least one of those 3 plays?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was just one of those things and it was also a good moment for me because it was like a favorite moment because it was eye-opening, but it was also a favorite for me because it led me down the path mentally to go through and be like, well, I really need to get this on check. Number one, because there's someone with just as much or more status coming every single week, right? And then number two, for my own sake, because I need to leave that last name where it belongs, which is on the back of the jersey, and just handle business. Everybody's a mere mortal. You cut them with a blade, they bleed red just like me. So everybody's fallible. Everybody's just human. And so it was good for me to have that perspective. And so it was a favorite moment because it was like starstruck, but it was also a favorite because it brought back perspective.
Interesting. So would you say that was the last time on a field that year that you kind of had? Was it sort of the first and last like on-field starstruck moment?
Yeah, the ones that you would expect to be starstruck moments in the future were more so like, cool, there's Nick Bosa. All right, let me watch how he's moving right now. It was more just like the tactical thing, and it was less of like, wow, look at that guy. Because dude, come on, I'm a beast too. That's how I
That's
go in my
right.
brain. I'm like, I have to tell myself that, so I keep remembering. It's like we're all we're all freaks of nature, so I don't need to freak out about anybody being super spectacular or not, though they are.
Yeah, but
And
you are
that
too.
is that first moment. I know there was. I saw a video of you blocking three future Hall of Famers on the 49ers.
Yeah.
Fred Warner. That beats that out.
That was a good one. That play was fun. I really didn't realize what was happening in that play or how that would be perceived. But it was cool, hindsight when you look back, and that was a good one for sure. But yeah, I think as far as I think the moment my first plays with Von Miller across were probably favorite just because of they were more significant and like meaningful for my perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Well,
makes
and there's
sense.
probably some correlation between not being starstruck and being able to go out and successfully get a piece of three Hall of Famers. Like,
Dude, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just that whole deal of like if you make the moment too big for you, the moment's too big for you.
yeah.
But if you just rise to the occasion, remember like who you are and kind of tamper with um, your mental arousal in that moment, like when they do studies about why do people choke, in big moments in big games. And this is another podcast I was listening to, and it happened to be with Andrew Huberman, and basically, you know, they were watching the neural functions that were happening during these moments, and low cost moments there was just the adequate amount of arousal to performance, on that bell curve, and you kind of get the best of both worlds. But when you get into moments where people typically choke, it's because there's just too much happening up here. And
Mm-hmm.
so to relate it to this, it's just all about just bringing it down.
Yeah.
It's just football. The same football I played when I was a peewee, when I was in third grade. It's the same game. We grow with the level of the game. And so keeping it in perspective and just keeping my job in perspective of like, okay, I want to get this alignment, this leverage, and here's the goal of the play, and that's that. And keeping it really simple keeps you from having too much arousal,
Yeah.
dropping your peak down, your performance down on that bell curve. And so, yeah, I think that's a good point, John.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next question is I was kind of thinking about this podcast and your time at Illinois and how that can maybe relate to Arizona Cardinals. At Illinois, you had a pretty big role as a leader. I think you were one of the team captains. But then you go to the Cardinals and you're a rookie, a third round pick, though, but pretty low on the totem pole. How is it to go from being a big voice in the locker room to now not having as much say? Because I know I've experienced that. I've been on teams where I wasn't the main voice and there was things that I wanted to change, but that wasn't my place on that team.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really good. That's something I would touch on too, Grady. What you just said was like you had self-awareness, and you have to be self-aware enough to know when that opportunity comes, and when you're in that place. And so let's backtrack. Let's go to Illinois. It's the same. It's the same. I was lower on the totem pole there, like one of the last walk-ons they took in the year of 2020. Definitely not a shoe-in by any means. Absolute lowest on the totem pole, lowest on the roster. If someone's going to get cut, it's me, right? You shut up and you work. You look down, you shut up and you work, and you're
Did you write that
known.
down, Grady? Shut up and work.
Shut up and work. All
you,
right.
you look down, you take one step in front of the other, and you just are the meanest, grittiest, hardest working dude that earns everything. And that is where I come from mentally, and that's what I do every single new scenario. when I transferred high schools when I was younger, when I went to new schools when I was younger before that, first thing I always do is like not open my mouth. I just work uh, and not in an egotistical way, but that's where my rap sheet, that's where that what that looks like. It's just all about grit and effort and finish and attitude and more effort. And so like shut up and work is a huge thing. I think you just can't work hard enough, right? And we can go into the weeds of that a ton, but basically you're doing that in order to earn trust. And so you go to Illinois, and earning trust comes from just working and showing people, not telling people what you're about. Because, like my strength coach said at Illinois, your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear a word you say. And that's really good. And so it's all about earning trust. It's not gaining trust, because that doesn't insinuate that you earned it. You earn people's trust, and that comes through work, and that comes through action. And so through earning that trust, it'll be apparent when it's time to speak. And when it is time to speak, you have to be self-aware, like we were talking, Grady. You have to be self-aware enough to know this is an opportunity for me to speak into. This was put here that some gap I can fill. And you need to jump on that opportunity when it does come, when you are ready, when it is your time, because if not, you become if you become just a follower, and that's okay. We need followers, we need leaders, we need followers. If you are a leader though, and there's a time to lead and you don't, then you're not a leader. And so being self-aware enough to understand when an opportunity arises that you could be leading, and you have earned the trust of those people through the work you put in previously and continually. So leadership as a rookie right now, this last year, it was all about shut up and work and earning that trust. And I've seen the dividends of earning that trust in my teammates. And there have been opportunities where in my role as a leader of the rookies, and you can ask the other rookies this if you were to come in contact with them. I'm not speaking out of turn. I don't feel, but I'm a leader of that group, and so leading the culture of our rookie class leads the culture of our program and of our ball club, and so being intentional with how I do that is big. And so when there are moments to do so, make sure to speak into those, or just be myself in action. And that's just really consistent and intentional there. And, eventually, as things take shape, as I earn more trust from the guys, as I just put more and more work in, that role is going to become more and more apparent, and a bigger one to step into as I age and I progress into my career. So
Yeah. I love what you're saying there. And one specific and important point I just want to highlight is it doesn't sound like you are just sitting here waiting for a position before you start thinking about how to influence. You said, let me shut up and work, but also let me look for opportunities to influence where I can have influence.
Yep.
With my example amongst the rookies. And you're confident. I mean, you said that when you become a captain, so you're confident that will get sort of formalized at some point down the road.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you're not just sitting around waiting for a title. You are influencing in the ways that you're able to influence right now. And I just think that's maybe a good word for folks who are listening, who are thinking, well, I'm not a leader yet. I don't have this title. I don't have that role. And you're saying, look, you don't need to wait around for the title to begin to influence in positive ways.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like if you, I'm very against I'm for patience. I'm for being patient, waiting, things like that. But waiting actively, actively waiting is maybe I'm waiting for a door to open that I believe will open, but I'm doing so much work in the meantime. You can't like, okay, I'm gonna row this boat, and well, I'm gonna wait for God. I'm gonna wait for God to row my boat. I'm gonna wait for God to direct me where to go. No, dude, don't be an idiot. Like, row the friggin' boat as hard as you can in the direction that you think is glorifying the Lord the best in that moment, and just row and work and work and work, and God's gonna make your path straight. He's gonna, if you are truly working for him, not for human masters or yourself, and you have an eternal mindset, then you are going to figure it out. But like, patiently waiting is awesome, but you can patiently wait for something while you strive and strain toward the goal.
Yeah. Sounds like you're making a distinction between patiently waiting, good thing, passively waiting,
Yeah.
not for Tip Reiman.
Not for anyone.
Well, there's some who try that, but yeah, there's limit on what those folks are gonna accomplish and experience in the world. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, you put a cap on yourself.
All right, I want to read a quote because it fits in with what we're talking about. This was a quote you gave Jeremy Werner with the Illini Inquirer. It's an article I read. I think it was shortly after the season had ended. You're gearing up for the combine and all that.
Yeah.
And you said, I feel I have a really high ceiling, and that as my life has been, it's under the radar. That is completely fine with me. I'm a sticky guy. It's hard to get rid of me. I feel like I'm just going to show up and work and do everything absolutely in my power to make it impossible for someone to get rid of me.
Yeah.
I love that quote when I first read it. I love it just as much today. I wrote a newsletter about it. So I guess just give us an update. A year later, you've lived a year of the NFL with this mindset, and you're kind of speaking to it with a shut up and work. But how has maybe just give us a sense for some of the ways that mindset and that approach with the stickiness, does that continue to work for you? And maybe you can just give us a few examples or evidences of how that stickiness is sort of bearing fruit, as an NFL player.
100%. 100%. The stickiness kind of goes into, as we've talked off camera and stuff, finding your niche, finding an opportunity or a gap to fill and filling it, going for it. And so for me is kind of becoming that, which I already was this, right? Becoming that Y tight end, that blocker. That's the tangible representation of the stickiness in my scenario. Like, we had tight ends that could do my role, but are very good in the pass game. I'm very good in the run game. I'm very good in the pass game. I believe that wholeheartedly. I believe I'm one of the best, right? But I know I am also one of the best run blockers and in pass pro and all this stuff of any tight end to play the game. And so to find my niche, fill the gap, and become really sticky in the sense of I'm a rookie playing a lot of snaps, among all of the rookies, and making a role for myself to where the offense can succeed at a higher rate because I have carved out this spot for myself to fill a need that the offense had and to fill it well and early. And that's where my stickiness has come in this year, as well as on special teams, filling different roles on special teams, for a big body who can protect but move and get out and stuff. And so that's a big one. That's a big one for me. When you think about stickiness, it kind of brings up some different phrases that I carry with me all the time. Coach Bielema at Illinois, his mantra is tough, smart, dependable. If you're the toughest, you're the smartest, and you're the most dependable, individual, but team on the field, or individual in life, whatever, you have a great chance to succeed, whatever it is. If you're tough enough to endure, if you're tough enough mentally and physically to get through, to thrive in whatever's facing you, you've got a chance to succeed. If you're the smartest, not necessarily in the room, but the smartest version of yourself, that you've put in the effort to make yourself the best version of yourself mentally, you have a great chance to succeed in that. If you're the most dependable, if you wake up on time and show up on time, if you're where you need to be when you need to be there, you've got a great chance to succeed. Those are all things that that he preached to us and are just so real in life, in football, whatever it is. And then I add to that the two biggest words that I've been repeating to myself over the last probably 2 years is intentional, consistent. And so if I am intentional and consistent in everything I do, I have a great chance to succeed. I have not only to succeed, but to be sticky, to stick around, to accomplish what it is I put my mind to. And then the last phrase that I'll say about stickiness is something JG, my current head coach, says. He says the key to success is two things: it's self-awareness and consistency. Keys to success is self-awareness and consistency. And so it's interesting to see at different levels successful men who have made a name for themselves, who have come from where they came from and built themselves up to where they are, and seeing trends across time and across different people in different parts of the country, like all the things, like, and seeing these consistencies where they've never talked, or different things like that. But you know what I mean? You see these consistencies of self-awareness and consistency.
Yeah. I really like the self-awareness ingredient in there, though, because even if you just pair that effort thing with self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Self-awareness, it's almost like the gateway to growth, because that's telling you, where do I need to channel that effort?
Yeah. Where to put it,
right? If you put a bunch of very earnest effort into the wrong thing, that may not get you the outcomes you're looking for. But if you can have that awareness, say, okay, here's where it would be most strategic for me to put in the work. Okay, and now I got to go put a bunch of work in there.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like in all areas of life, that's kind of the secret sauce there, that 1-2 punch. So I like, you don't often hear self-awareness, from an NFL coach, but I think there's something really insightful about that.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that also resonates with me too. Like, and again, that's not something you would always associate with success, but I think that's a really good thing to remember. Like, even just, especially in youth sports, like my teammates, they're never thinking about themselves. They're always thinking about, like, this teammate sold the game, or this teammate could have played better. I think just always being self-aware, always thinking about how you individually can be better. I think that is definitely a big part of success.
Yeah, it's wise. I mean, we called that at Illinois. We called that looking out the window instead of looking in the mirror. It's like you need to look in the mirror all the time. You don't need to look out the window. It's all about what can you do better. And then, like like John was saying, throughout normal life, even outside of our sports, Grady, of the self-awareness of, in marriage or in different interpersonal relationships, it all boils down to, how self-aware are you to know that that's coming off like that to your wife? Oh, okay. How self-aware am I that I know my internal emotion is to, I want to be angry because why? Where's that come from? And so, yeah, the self-awareness in so many aspects.
Yeah. Anytime, in my work, I work with leaders, organizations, try to help them get healthier. But anytime you come upon a scene of some serious destruction within a team, you can almost always trace the path back to a leader who lacked self-awareness in one form or another. and humility, which is kind of a related trait there. But
Hmm.
that's good. All right, let's shift gears. I had an experience a few weeks ago with my 10-year-old son, Maddox, who you both know. We went to New York City for the Illinois Duke game, basketball game. So just big time game, Saturday night, Madison Square Garden, primetime television, iconic program we're going against. If anyone in the country is watching college basketball that night, they're watching that game. And we lost by 43. Biggest loss in the 120-year history of Illinois basketball. Now, we didn't even make it to the end. There's about 7 minutes left. Maddox was kind of getting upset. He just said, Dad, can we go get some ice cream? I said, sure.
Yeah.
But as we slipped out the arena, I thought to myself, boy, those players don't get to slip out and get ice cream.
Yeah.
They got to finish that game.
Yeah.
And just absorb the embarrassment and hear, the fans say all the things that fans say on social media, and the media will write what they write. There's just no hiding from something like that.
Yeah.
And, all people have ups and downs. All professions have ups and downs. But you, Tip, are in a unique profession with professional sports, and college sports is basically that nowadays, where your ups and downs are there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
And everyone to comment on and everyone to critique. And man, I just have to believe that's not easy. When it's good, it's good, but man, when it's bad, I'm sure it's tough. So could you give us just a little insight into, whether it was as a college athlete, now as a pro athlete, like how do you manage the ups and downs within a profession where it's all out there for everyone to see?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first, there's a couple points to hit on. The ups and downs of when you boil it down, of this surface level stuff. Sport is awesome. Sports are the gateway to so many cool communities and learning so many skills and life skills at that too. But they're surface level. Sports are sports. They're just that. It's something you do. It is a physical activity that now is used for entertainment and for me a job, but it's still just a sport, right? It's something that was created in the backyard or in some field somewhere, and it's just still that. And so to boil it down, it's like it's a group of dudes fighting over a ball, like we're gonna be okay, So to boil it down into that, that's good. And then I would say understanding who you are, like in faith. My ultimate role is not a player. It's not someone who lives and dies by wins and losses. My ultimate identity is a citizen of heaven. It's not even on earth. I'm not even an American. I'm a citizen of heaven. Like, you know what I mean? Like having a completely different frame to see yourself in. And that gives you a completely different set of rules to judge yourself by. No longer is your worth via wins and losses, what someone on Twitter says, what your dad says about the game, what your aunt says about the game, whatever. You know what I mean? Like your worth is completely untouchable. If like no other mortal can mess with that. And so to mentally separate where you are and your true worth from anything some mortal can touch, and just put it up on a top shelf where none of us can get. And that is heaven. That is Jesus. That is the Lord. That keeps you just right here, steady Eddie, the whole time. Just put it on a shelf where no one can get and only the Lord can get. And you only get the good stuff with him, right? And we get conviction and all that, but it's ultimately good. So I'd say, again, being self-aware and where truly is my worth coming from, and consistent in the implementation of that and the reminding of yourself of that. That is super, super important to me. And then on a practical ground level standpoint, controlling the noise. Don't have Twitter. Really don't get any updates about anything or anyone says about anything at all, other than from like my dad. My dad will read stuff and then send stuff to me. And that's how I know when things happen or what people say.
Now we hear athletes say stuff like this a lot, but you're saying you actually adhere to that. Like Monday morning after a game, you're not scrolling Twitter or
No.
Googling your name or anything like that.
No. I could care less what I don't know. I was gonna make up any name.
You probably don't even know who they are.
I don't know. So I know the opinion of people who have direct correlation on like my job. I know what they think about my performance. That's my coaches, but that's it. Like other than that, my family is just supportive, win, lose or draw, and I can be as critical as I can on myself, and that's great because I'm self-aware and I know where I need to be better, but I don't need someone who's never played the game at my level or been in my exact shoes to be on Twitter but in my brain all the time telling me where I suck or where I'm great, because that's, like I said, self-talk is huge, and that's playing mind games with you, and whether you know it or not, you're repeating that terrible information in your own brain. So what's the point? It's only bringing you down. You got to raise your frequency and keep your thoughts high,
Yeah.
and so that's where I'm at with that.
What would you say? I could imagine a certain kind of athlete listening to your answer there
Yeah.
and saying, well, Tip, that all sounds warm and fuzzy, but you're in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You're playing with and against people who are trying to tear your head off. Like, that's not going to cut it. You've got to be obsessed. You've got to be nasty. Like, all this, it's what we do, not who I am. Like, that's not going to work at this level.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You got to be more like MJ or Kobe or whatever. There's kind of a whole narrative out there around a certain kind of obsessive athlete where it's got to be everything to you.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person, or maybe what have you said if that's been a sentiment you've heard before?
Yeah. Well, I mean that is something I've been asked before. A lot of combine interviews and draft prep interviews and stuff like that. It's like I am obsessed with getting better. I'm obsessed with the best version of myself. I'm obsessed with that. But that also glorifies the Lord. And that doesn't make an idol out of football. So the best version of myself looks like the guy who reads the Bible every single day, the guy who gets on his knees to pray, the guy who comes home deadbeat tired after a long day of practice, training, work, film, and then goes and is the best husband he possibly can be. Like all of those things are the best version of myself and the best tight end that I possibly can be and all those things. But I've got to be obsessed with the best version of myself that glorifies the Lord. And that's how I would define it. Instead of obsessed with this one thing. And when I'm obsessed with this one thing, it's like, okay, cool, I can be the best football player of all time, whatever. but I can have a crappy relationship with everyone I'm with, crappy social life. Maybe I'm addicted to this, that, the third, and a million other things, and everything sucks. But guess what? I won Super Bowls. Who cares? Do you get to take?
That's not a trade you're going to make.
You don't get to take those Super Bowls or that success with you to heaven or hell. Yeah, whether you choose the Lord or not, you don't get to take it with you once you're dead. And so why hold on to that with all of your might and say, okay, how about I do my best version of this, but throw that out the window and I say, through the lens of the Lord, I want to be the best version of myself. And that can include that, but that also makes you so much more well-rounded of like, okay, I can be the smartest version of myself. I can be the best husband, the best father, best son, the best friend. And all of that by being obsessed with the right things, which is serving the Lord with all my heart. And that means hard work. That means obsession about the little details of did I lift heavy enough? Did I run fast enough? Did I jump high enough? All of that stuff matters too. But it's all about serving the Lord with all my heart and my mind and my soul and my being. And that's how I have answered those questions in the past and would answer that person now.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, I think anyone who's ever watched you play, they would see that doesn't translate into anything soft.
Thanks.
You know, and which is why you're getting to do what you're doing right now. So I think it's yeah. Grady and I are nodding and we're appreciating that approach. And yeah, it's I'm reading a book right now that just has me thinking about what's, you know, I'm a competitive guy too. Like, what's my true scoreboard, or what should be my scoreboard?
That's real.
And I'm hearing you say, like, yeah, my scoreboard has a few categories on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's a world where I can actually be too obsessed with the wrong thing or only one thing, and now I'm losing in other areas, and that's not ultimately going to be a win for me in terms of what your life is about and who it ultimately belongs to. So it's good. It's good. In terms of things you're trying to be excellent at and get better at, one of the newest ones to add to your list is dad.
Yeah.
I don't want to pry too much into your, you know, personal family life with everyone listening, all,
No, it's all good.
all 20 of them out there, listeners. But did want to give you a space just to reflect a little bit on what that experience has been like, and if that's given you any, you know, new perspective on football or any of this stuff.
Yeah. Perspective on football, I'm not sure yet, I guess, because I haven't gone through a season with being a father, but
Yeah.
I know I keep thinking about it, how even if it's just a little itty bitty slice of how God sees us as as his children, and to how we see our children. It's just super cool to have a little bit of insight, and a little sliver, because he's got so much capacity, so much more capacity for love and for all these things that are growing within me than I do, bar none. And so to feel so much love for this little being that can add nothing to, he can't increase my wealth or help me by working really hard. He can't really like help me, right? But oh my gosh, I love him so much. And to get a little glimpse of, wow, that's how our Father feels. All I can really do is just be super dependent on the Father, just like my son is on us. And and I don't really add anything other than like joy to the Father, right? I add a lot of things. I can try really hard in life and a lot of stuff, but when I just pursue him and seek his face and want to smile at him and spend time with him, like that's only once. And when my son looks at me and smiles at me, it's like that's all I wanted. You know what I mean? So because nothing else is really going to add to me that my son could do, and same for us to our Father. And so it's giving me little glimpses into what that's like. And throughout Maddie's pregnancy, and even before, I always heard of people talking like that and talking about these things, um, and I knew it would feel like this, but um, you don't you don't really know things until you're in it. Like I feel like I knew it, but I didn't know it,
Yeah.
and now I know now, and um, that's been, I'd say that's the most prominent thing that I've been learning as a father. And like, other than that, there's tons of things that I feel like I'm increasing capacity of. It was like patience, kindness, love, humility, problem solving, communicating with Maddie even better. And that's, we've really prioritized how we communicate with each other a lot, through our marriage. But you definitely reach other levels when
Yeah.
there's kids involved, and I'm sure you and Janelle can speak to that big time. But even like even like where our priorities are, what I feel like I have time or margin for, it's a lot more black and white. Like there's a lot of gray areas before, and now I feel like my give a crap meter has gone down a
Yep.
lot,
Yep.
and it's kind of like there are important things and there aren't, and that's kind of it. And you just don't care about the rest, and you definitely, I've found that I learned to cut out a lot more things and just prioritize the essentials. Yeah, there's that. There's stuff like being more okay with the uncontrollables and the unknowns, and with schedules being thrown off,
Yeah.
or just routines thrown off or anything like that, because another mentor I have from back in Illinois, he was talking to me about how kids are given to us by God as little torpedoes to ruin our sense of control and
Yeah.
all of that stuff, and teach us to rely on the Lord more, and really cool stuff. So I was like, yeah, you're totally right. And so it's cool to remember, the Lord is sovereign, and he reigns ultimately, period. And so he's going to take care of us, and so our sense of control can um, slip by the wayside,
Yeah.
and so I'm learning that. But
You hear that,
lots of
Grady?
lots of cool things.
You're a torpedo.
I think I used to be, but
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
not anymore.
He's gotten a little more helpful over the years. He's helping us with our little torpedoes.
Yeah.
The real torpedoes.
All right, Coach Bielema, if you're listening,
Yeah.
I'm officially putting Brooks Reiman on your radar. He comes from great genes.
Yeah.
He's got great parents. I would be very surprised if he does not adopt his father's stickiness mentality.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying you definitely need to offer him now, but if I was you, I would
Consider
consider it. I think better offers are coming. So get him locked up now.
Oh man.
All right. We're going to get you out of here on this. Grady's got a final question for you. Grady, take us home.
Yeah, so right now I'm 14. I'm in 8th grade, about to enter high school. What advice would you give your 14-year-old self about to go into high school? What was something that you wish you had known or learned? Or
I would say that when I was 14, um, and I was a freshman when I was 14, but I was nonetheless, like, still reigns true for my answer, just caring a lot less about what people think. A lot less. Because I teeter-tottered on how to answer that quickly, and I was thinking maybe I would have worked harder, but worked my tail off. Maybe I would have done some things differently, but that's why I'm here. That's the story that was written, right? But I would say the biggest thing, really looking back, is like that really wasted my time and wasted effort and any energy, or was just caring what people thought. Um, Caring what people thought socially, about maybe what I wanted to choose differently. Caring less about what people thought about how I looked. Super acne kid, like just the worst you've ever seen. Like the worst you've ever seen. Like I would call it pizza face. Like just all that stuff, dude. It was terrible. So like, and I was little. I was like 5'5" and like 150 something pounds.
As a 14-year-old.
Yeah. And so I'm like just going through it, and I was just like, I would skip school some days because my face was too bad. And it was like, I felt like it was just having the worst day ever. So, I would care a lot less about what people thought. And I'm continuing to learn that more and more, like I mentioned with the give a crap meter, it's really low right now and continuing to drop but continuing to rise on the things that matter. And I would just say that the things that really do matter and things that you can take with you past the grave, like care about those, and things that you can't, just learn to let those slide right off of you. Like if even words from peers, if they were speaking like, I don't know, if I do know Chinese, I wouldn't be surprised if you did. So that's why I asked
That's
before.
Macy.
But
That's not me.
if
That's
if they
Macy.
were speaking Chinese to you, like you really wouldn't care because if they were insulting you or whatever they were saying, because it didn't those words, you didn't attribute any weight to them. So if you attribute the same amount, no weight, to the words that you can actually understand, and just let them slide right off of you and have the same attitude as if they were speaking Chinese to you, like that's how I would have absorbed a lot of information when I was younger, because I think there was a lot of words said, a lot of things that me and my soft-hearted self like absorbed that I should have let roll off my back and just not cared about. So yeah, I would say just I wouldn't care about what people who don't really have a say in your eternity say about you,
Yeah.
or anything for that matter other than the Lord.
Well, Tip, you must have learned that question or learned that lesson along the way, because in the time that we've known you, I would say one of the marks of your life is just, things we've talked about: intentionality, focus, not worrying about the wrong voices, and just staying really locked in on. I loved what you said about just being obsessed with becoming the best version of yourself, the version of you that God made you to be. And, I'm 15 years your senior, and I feel like I'm challenged and sharpened by you in that regard. I know Grady is, as well, as someone who's, 10 years your junior. And so it's just fun. It's fun to be on here with my son and to feel like we're both learning from your example, learning from your words. And so I'm hopeful that the folks who listen to this podcast will feel similarly, and I'm confident they will. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I continue to learn from you guys just as much. I really appreciate it.